Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter indeed. Great to see you here, Spike. Hope you're having a great day. Hope the family's doing well also. We're going to take our time here getting started. We started up this space just a couple minutes early, so we're going to let people file in. And I think right around the turn of the hour, we'll get things going and hopefully run about an hour with this Twitter space. We'll get things kicked off, and then we're going to open up the floor, invite some people up here to speak, and well, I'm looking forward to hearing from many of our community members. We've got Jiho on the official Axie Infinity account, of course. Jiho, how are we doing on this fine Sunday?
Yeah, doing well, doing well. Excited for this. See some awesome people in the audience, and yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about who we're gonna show Origin to. This is something that we've been building towards for a while, right? For years, we've always been super excited for the moment when we could finally show our friends, our family, Axie really smoothly. So yeah, that'll be kind of the main discussion for today. I see Quinn just popped in. I see Psych Out is here. Awesome.
Yep, absolutely. Let's bring Quinn up here so that he can join us for this kickoff conversation. And I'm going to make sure that I retweet our Twitter space here. Appreciate help from anyone in listening, trying to spread the word about this awesome Twitter space coming up. See Arctic here as well with that awesome Mystic Axie PFP, looking fresh today.
That is really nice, actually. I was just talking to him about it.
What's up, guys? How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing well, man. Welcome.
What's good, Quinn? Always good to see you, brother.
Spike, it's good to see you too, man. I'm glad you could host today, man. It should be very exciting. I know you've got a lot of insights as well, so it'll be really great.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the privilege to speak with the team and the opportunity to speak with everyone in the Axie community. I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. Welcome, everybody, to this Axie Infinity Twitter space. Today, we're going to talk about who will you show Origin to. We're going to talk about Origin, the most recent patch. We're going to get some nice conversations going with Spike here, and then we're going to make this kind of a roundtable discussion and talk about the glories of Origin and kind of the differences between Origin and Axie Classic, and how we're going to share this game, how we're going to bring in this next generation of new players that will be really excited to join our Axie revolution. So, Jiho, maybe you want to kick us off here before we hand it over to Quinn.
Awesome. So the community has been super excited about the release of Origin. Just some stats, we've had over 415,000 testers in just the first week. Around 10% of those are from totally new accounts, people who, are just trying Axie out with starter Axies. That's a really, really awesome sign. And of course, right, this is just on desktop only, Mavis Hub distribution, no token rewards, no mobile, right? And we know that around 80% of our player base is mobile only. So yeah, it's been a really exciting week. And let's talk about how to use this momentum and use this new product to continue to light the fire of this movement, right? Like, Origin is really, really important in that anyone can start their Axie journey for free with 3 free starter Axies without having to go through the blockchain onboarding. All that complicated stuff can happen later once they're in love with the game, in love with the community and the art. And yeah, I think it's super important. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about, I guess I'll just go first and talk a little bit about my Axie journey, and I guess the people in my network and my family and friends who have been following along, right? Like, I think for the last 4 years, a lot of the people I know in real life have been a little bit bewildered and confused at what I'm actually doing here. Maybe a lot of you guys can relate to that, right? This is a new technology, this is a new concept, and it can be a little bit abstract, right? And if you actually want to get people involved, it can be hard getting them to set up a Ronin wallet, and then you have to actually send them Axies, or I guess get them to actually buy crypto. It's just so many steps, and my personally, like, I only ever had one friend, I think, from my real life who actually started Axie, and he was an Uber driver, so he was like playing Axie a little bit in between calls. So but with this new release, I feel like I've been way more aggressive, right? Like, I've been sending the Mavis Hub download link to my college friends, people who are in my fraternity, even my family. Like, I have 3 little kind of nieces and nephews, and they always wanted to try Axie, but it was just like way too complicated for them to get in. And they're kids who play like Roblox, right? And they've actually started playing already. So I'm seeing great signs, just from, yeah, like, yeah, like, we're definitely more accessible, and yeah, have had way more success getting my friends, my families, even some of my relatives involved.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jiho. I've definitely experienced some of that bewilderment from my friends and family that are still trying to wrap their heads around esports and gaming, let alone NFTs and blockchain, and then let alone the intersection of those two things as well. One of the things that really excites me about the free-to-play Axies as well is now for starter players, you can buy one Axie and still have a meaningful experience, because we've got the Ronin Spirit. You can play with one NFT Axie and then use 2 starter Axies. And then if you earn a little bit, or you save up some money, you can get your second Axie. And then you have this meaningful progression where right now you have to come out of the gate with 3. And I think it can be really intimidating for people to try to decide which Axies are for me. How do I pick the right ones? Even for experienced gamers, it's really hard to know what you're investing in until you get a chance to play. And free to play completely shifts that paradigm a little bit. Anecdotally, for me, when I first started at Sky Mavis, one of the first things I realized to get some of the traditional gamers in my network to even try it, let alone get them on board, was to give them some sort of a VIP scholar account to start playing on. I kind of made my own free-to-play Axies that I could loan out to people as sort of informal scholars that were already set up, had that user experience where it was just a simple login and they could get a taste of the game. And that worked pretty well to at least get people to try it and perk their ears up to the value proposition and the great revolution we have forming here for changing the paradigm of players' property rights online. But I think this is just a big improvement. And now it's going to be so much easier for me to talk to my gamer friends and be like, here you go, just play it, check it out. And then we can talk about, your first Axie investment and build up one at a time. So yeah, free to play definitely going to be huge. Quinn, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Then maybe we'll hand it over to Spike.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Right. What I'm about to say, I bet resonates with most people in this room. When I first started Axie, I think I spent 2.5 weeks just watching like all kinds of, what are the best teams to start with, YouTube videos from like all the greatest creators. And it was so almost scary, to be honest, just to get in and make sure I was getting a good comp to even begin in the first place. And so it's so cool now that with Origin, we've just removed that friction entirely from the process, right? I think it solves this like mass marketability and onboarding piece, because now without the difficulty of going through the crypto side and having to put up some cash first, this game Origin is basically marketable to the same people that play Pokemon, that play Clash, that play Hearthstone, right? That's hundreds of millions of people right there. And so now we're just getting out there and trying to put it in their hands, right? And it's really exciting for me because now my mom's playing Origin. She never would have touched V2 because she was so scared by crypto. And I've actually onboarded 2 Uber drivers recently as well. So it's definitely a much easier experience here, and it's been a lot of fun kind of going through that. But Spike, I would love to hear what your experience has been so far. I'll kick it your way.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll just add on to what you said, and with Zyori. So I started, I think, like moderately competitive teams were going for about $600 USD, and on top of that, you had to have at least some technical background or be able to follow guides. Because I remember when I was coming in, it was very, very difficult. We didn't have ramps, we didn't have Ronin. I never even had a MetaMask. So, gaming is a good opportunity to bring people into crypto and educate them. I think Axie is the perfect platform for that. I've learned about staking. I've learned about, NFT ownership. But yeah, I think moving forward, this is the right direction. I think, you know, we have three amazing starter axes that people fall in love with from the start, and then they can earn some more. But, I'm very bullish on the idea of opening it up to more players. Of course, when they do the Android and iOS launch, I think things are going to go crazy. When I first started, it was difficult. I was always nervous, even just trying to handhold people to set up their MetaMask and get their first teams. I successfully onboarded my brother and a good friend that were Hearthstone players, and I did introduce actually to my son. He's turning 4 this year. I even did a couple streams because I was a really big streamer. Early last year when I got into it, I kind of moved over to a more of a community leader role. But yeah, it's just been so awesome. I really think the game Origin really does a better job of really enticing new players to get in. Like when I played Origin, I immediately am like, oh, okay, let's go. I need to spend money. I need to buy some really cool teams. Like I think it really encourages you to kind of progress and to just like have a more meaningful experience. So I think Origin is doing really good so far, and I think it's going to help onboard millions of players.
Love to hear it. And of course, probably in about 10 minutes or so, we're going to bring people up here to speak. So get your questions ready. If you want to comment or join the conversation, get prepared because we are going to open up the floor and would certainly love to hear from all of you here in this Twitter space. Spike, one thing I wanted to hone in on, though, you mentioned the storyline behind these starter axes. And now you come in where there's characters that you can kind of get behind. The adventure mode takes you on this journey. I'd love to unpack that a little bit, maybe hear your thoughts, maybe just affirm the thesis here that lore is powerful. Like, I think that we can create value from lore. I think it makes people feel more connected to these characters. I think, and that can have, very tangible results of like people want to buy like Bubba plushies, things like that. People feel more connected to the characters, and that allows us to, create all sorts of different types of media like comic books or, like animated shorts, the a huge blank canvas landscape in front of us in terms of the potential there. Anything that you could speak to about that? I guess, have you seen, any difference as a content creator, as a guild manager, since we've been injecting a little bit more lore here into the Axie space?
Oh, most definitely. I'm a big lore buff. The first thing I'd advise, and I'm sure you guys are working on it, is to have like some voice acting for the starter axes. I did see it in the land gameplay trailer, but kind of like your Pokemon S, kind of like grunts and size, and just kind of give a little more pizzazz and more life. But yeah, like when I got into it, I'd fall in love with my forever Axie, and I think Oleg, Buffa, and Bubba are like really good ones to start out with. We saw how busted Bubba was in one of the competitive matches earlier this week. We saw Spam and Rice, exploit a zero cost card and just wipe a whole team. So, there's even like esports lore that's coming into this, just to kind of see what moves have been happening. And, unlike a card game, you have some familiarity with like, in Hearthstone, you have these champions and these heroes where like you own these NFT assets that represent, axes, and people are reading them, whether they're for competitive use or, they just love the aesthetics. We got Axie Club, big Axie Club, and, it's just, I see, subgroups and smaller communities coming together and building lore and, really trying to expand this universe. We see IPs like Pokemon and Star Wars where, they're just a massive, there's so much to learn. There's so much, spin-offs and so much to contribute. So I think that's, I know you had brought that up early on when you had joined the team, and I'm very bullish on that as well. Just creating experiences outside the game that bring people together. I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Quinn, I'd love to hear you speak to, the intersection of lore and community and marketing. You're the real marketing master here of those of us on the stage. Are we correct? Like, is lore really a big driver of connection and, like user adoption?
Yeah, I think it's so cool, right? Gaming really is about narratives. Crypto is a game of narratives, and gaming is a game of narratives, and we're sitting right at the intersection of the two. And so when we're able to have these really strong narratives, this really strong lore built into the gameplay, and it like personifies axes to some extent, right? That's what we see with the starter axes. It really gives us something much stronger to kind of latch onto and to market, right? With some of the advertising that we're creating, we're already leaning into that, where we're kind of showing off who Bubba is and what his skills are and things like that. Because, it's the same reason why Pikachu did so well and became this incredible kind of mascot for Pokemon, because people were able to kind of personify it in their eyes and really relate to it and imagine themselves hanging out with Pikachu, basically. This lore now allows us to do something really similar here. So yeah, I think that's a really great point, Zyori. I'd actually, Spike, I'd be interested to kick it back over to you, man. Maybe, really succinctly, you could kind of give us the pitch. Let's say that you were about to onboard somebody in your life onto into Origin today. What would be your kind of angle of saying it? What would be the selling points? How would you really describe what it is? I'd love for you to dive in.
Awesome. So I had to do a 2 point on this. I never had really thought about this. So, I come from North America, and predominantly, most users are on iOS. Whereas, I also have built a large community predominantly in Southeast Asia and Latam that are, on Android. So I guess, as a content creator, I used to, stream a lot. I used to stream in like, several hours a week, where now I just do, a couple things here and there, mostly working on community building for the guilds that I'm part of. But yeah, the big part of me with scholarships, and what was very exciting was when you gave people these Axies, and they immediately had, this experience playing with it. Like a lot of people, they felt a certain level of attachment. And like it was even hard for some people when I upgraded their teams, because they're like, man, I love this team so much, because they had that relationship with it. And now we have, updated graphics, and everything looks very beautiful. It's kind of more fine-tuned to newer consumer audiences. And then moving over to kind of like a more North American audience, I think talking about the gun being very fun and beautiful, and also very challenging. I think the game is very easy to learn but hard to master. So that we have like all these opportunities to kind of progress with runes and charms, buying different axes, trying out different compositions. So it just depends on the specific audience, whether you're talking to someone that's, young like my son, like a toddler or a teenager, the draw or pull might be, let's talk about how beautiful these axes are, how cool this game is. Whereas, you're going to have your esports guys, that are used to playing Magic or Hearthstone. So, approaching them and talking about, hey, look, this is a really cool game. Very vibrant esports community. They're doing a lot of different things to, grow, whether you're a shoutcaster or community organizer or just a player. So, yeah, that's kind of a little question for me, but it just depends on what audience you're coming to. But I think first and foremost, just talking about how amazing the game is. I think quite honestly, last year where everything was at, earning was a big draw for the space, but moving forward and speaking with different people in terms of sustainability and kind of orienting the game to being more fun, I think that's the right direction. I see the team focusing on more emphasis on gameplay and education and just kind of fun experiences with friends.
Definitely. The gameplay, the community, the collectability, all of that has to be at the forefront. If we can nail that, we make an amazing experience that people want to be a part of. The economics, that part will kind of balance out by itself, right? Like, but the key is, right, this has to be an amazing game that gets people into flow state. I don't like, people are saying the game has to be fun. To me, I try to be scientific, and fun is actually too subjective. But I think like the goal of any game designer and a goal of what people mean when they say a fun game is that it does have to get you into that flow state, and it does have to have this like social element for a lot of different gamers. So I think that is going to definitely be really important, and Origin puts us in such a stronger position with a foundation that's just much more solid and sturdy for building that type of experience on top.
Yeah, foundation is a good word, because as we've seen already, there's a lot of changes that can come to Origin and a lot of things that we can build on top. I think from a competitive esports angle, already taking secrets and making them actually secret is a great example of a small change that can really add another layer of complexity that makes it more strategic, adds some of those mind game type elements that I think a lot of people were really attracted to in Axie Classic. And when it comes to esports specifically, we can also add sort of a drafting mode element on top of it. What Axies do you bring to any specific tournament? How long are they locked in for? Is it a specific composition, sort of that Hearthstone style that people have suggested? Is it more of an Axie pool that you're choosing from, where there's sort of a back and forth where you can ban some, you can lock some, and there's this whole mind game that starts before you even start playing Axies on the battlefield in the tournament? I think there's still a lot of things that we can add on. So we always have to remember that Origin is still an alpha right now, but I'm so excited about esports because it does have that foundation. One of the things that has commonly popped up in my career working in esports is people coming to me saying, "Hey, Zyori, we want to hire you to make our game popular with esports." It's like, that's not really how it works. Esports is an amplifier. You have to have this core foundation of gameplay and excitement and people that want to compete. And then we can take esports and really crank that up, increase the engagement, reward people, and give them a reason to up their skills and commit more to the ecosystem. But it's a build-up point. It's a layer two. It's not the nexus. And I think Origin is that nexus point to really let us do big stuff here. So, all right, enough about esports, but yeah, very excited about that. I think we're at the point, though, where we can definitely bring up some guest speakers, though. So if anybody wants to join the conversation, feel free to request, and we'll start sifting through those. If you have questions about Origin, feel free to bring those. But also, you're welcome just to come up and share alongside our prompt tonight. Who will you show Origin to, and how are you going to do it?
Hey, Zora, you mind if I just ask you a quick question?
Please, what's up?
What is, I guess, the percentage of esports players to more casual players? That's something I've always considered. I know for, like RTSs in specific, there's a smaller subset of competitive players that really kind of help bring, the excitement of progression and, just, falling behind and love these heroes, these plays. But I'm curious to see if you know the split between, just more casual players and esports players.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it's something a lot of people are curious about, both community members and people that I go on to like sales calls with from other games and other game studios, creators. But it's actually a really challenging thing to measure. I mean, we can sort of take some educated guesses and ballparks, but there's a huge intersection there, right? Like there's a lot of, if you're a professional player, you probably enjoy playing for fun. People often ask us, like, who's playing the game because they like it and who's here just for earnings? It's like, well, how do you measure somebody that maybe was attracted because of the earnings and then they fell in love with the game and they actually enjoy playing it? And then all of a sudden you're playing it both because you enjoy it with the added benefit of you earn something for your time instead of having to pay to do something with your time. So I hate to say I don't know, but I think this transition to Origin where we're seeing people play it and there aren't earnings attached to it is pretty bullish in terms of the people that enjoy playing the game and are intrigued in the strategy. But of course, the better you are at the game and the more you embrace the strategy, the higher your propensity to earn, because you earn more the higher your MMR is. So it really is hard to separate, right? Winning is fun and climbing the leaderboards is fun, but that also correlates with earnings. Feel free to jump in, Jiho.
Yeah, so I'll also jump in and say I actually think one of the interesting things that we're doing with this entire movement is that we're actually redefining what it means to be an esport, in my opinion, right? Where traditionally esports has been a thing where maybe the top 0.1% or even less of gamers in a community could actually compete for rewards, right? Real monetary rewards. Whereas in Axie, just with season 20, we paid out the top 300,000 participants on the leaderboard, right? So that's 300,000 of around 2.1 million people who participated in the season, right? So what's to say that those 300,000 people, they're not all esports competitors, right? Like I think the definition is shifting, and because we can do smart contract enabled automated payouts for these seasons, for these tournaments moving forward, I think the accessibility of esports is going to increase, and that's going to be one of the key narratives for Axie moving forward. And yeah, I'm super excited to build that with Zyori and others on the team.
Yeah, I'll ask kind of an open question here for Jiho and Spike, maybe as we pull a couple people up. So I think that as we pull people in through Origin, over the coming months and year, and they start through free to play, or they come in through advertising, right, through user acquisition. That it'll be a different experience onboarding that way and joining our community that way, versus some of the other paths that we've generally grown through, like through scholarship opportunities and through word of mouth. And so, it's definitely really important that we continue to keep this strength of community and welcome people with open arms. And I'd just love to hear your reactions and thoughts, around how we keep building community with new players coming in through different channels in the future.
Would you let me start, Jeff?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'll give you a little insight, kind of where I come from. So I'm a professional community builder. I work alongside the Metagoons and kind of build on a smaller level. But my job is to help kind of cultivate different communities in a net positive way. It's essentially aligning, um, you know, everyone to build in the same direction. And you do that by, essentially making it to where all the incentives are structured to where, as people contribute to the ecosystem, that they are, rewarded for that and, praised for that. And I think, with Axie, offering more access rewards, that was definitely an amazing move. A lot of people who might not have owned access are now, owners. And at some point, we'll have governments. I believe, the team's been working on that. They've talked about it. So that's very exciting to be able to not just have this player owned economy in this game, but to also have the opportunity to own part of it through, competitive play, which is for me, like, gamers are awesome. Like, it wasn't something very champion when I grew up. I loved esports. I was, it wasn't something that people were proud of. It was just like, oh, that guy is playing too many video games. Whereas now, like, to me, it's something that's seen as like a legitimate career. Like, if you're like a competitive player, or you're able to support staff, different functions, like, you create these valuable experiences that people love and cherish and talk about from time to time. So for me, it's just, finding out more ways to get the community involved, whether it's through in-game tournaments, which is something that we see on the loading screen now, or, more events. And, Axie's been very huge on doing different contests, like the art contests or music video contests and stuff like that. Like, it's an amazing community to be a part of. And that's why I've loved it. And I've stayed here to build. We've done a lot of amazing things in my community. And, I think just championing people that are, contributing to the ecosystem is the way to kind of build that strong foundation. For me, whenever I start any kind of Discord, for example, it's always like, we want to welcome everyone. We want them to feel like family. We want them to feel integrated. And I see Axie, taking that direction and continue to build in that way. So I'm very bullish.
Before there was a game, there was a community, right? And so community has always been part of the core base of what we're building here. And I think, what we've done an amazing job as a community, welcoming newcomers, right? Like, our Discord was the first, I think, Web3 related Discord to ever hit 800,000, which was the max. And there are around 100,000 Discords actually following the main Axie Discord. And we're starting to see these amazing sub communities, right? Like, shout out to Big Yak Axie Club, or Big Yak Society, as I like to call them, right? There was and Axie Chat, right? And so many more. There are these amazing sub communities where people are joining and getting that tight knit feel. And I think as we welcome more traditional mainstream gamers, and as our momentum gathers, our numbers swell, we're going to see even more of these sub communities. So as right, people find their own little niches and pockets within the Axie ecosystem, I think it's also really important that we have these core values that unite us and experiences, right? So I think, like, having Axie meetups in every city, every town across the world is going to be really important. That's why we're working on a meetup framework that will allow us to scale that. Merch, right? Every movement needs a uniform. And so I think scaling merch is going to be really important for maintaining that feeling of unity. Manuals, right? Like, it used to be like scalable and possible for everyone to basically teach Axie to people kind of by hand. But right, with Origin, there are people who are just playing Axie who might not have been referred by anyone, right? So that's why it was really important for us to put effort into the in-game tutorials, as well as working directly with Axie Tech to create that educational site. If you haven't checked out Axie Tech's amazing content related to Origin, they have a card explorer, they have runes. Definitely make sure to check that out. So I think it is definitely it's a combination of continuing what's gotten us here, but also finding ways to scale that feeling of close knit, of a close knit community. I think that's basically the science or the art of community building, is how do you have millions of people who feel like they're in a tight knit community of hundreds or thousands. I think that's the secret formula, and that's something that we're all going to build towards together.
Absolutely.
Really well said, Jiho. Yeah, it's the community that's gotten us this far, and it's going to be the community that that continues to take us forward. So I think we have our first speaker up here, Johan. Johan has joined us. Johan is actually part of the core team over at Big Yak Axie Club. So it's awesome to have you here with us. Johan, who are you going to show Axie to?
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for excuse me, having me up here. Yeah, man, lots of things to say, but who am I going to show Origin to? I think it kind of like what Spike was saying is that it kind of depends on your audience, but I really do see Axie and Origin as a great opportunity to bring a lot of people together. So, excuse me. So, like if anyone is ever talking about Web3 or crypto or NFTs and they don't really, a lot of times I'll hear people talking about it and don't really get it or whatever. And I use Axie as like a perfect example of, oh, well, like here we have this game where you can own these NFTs and it has this utility of playing in this game. And you have like a collection tied to it and you build this collection, but it has that utility in the game and it gives you that true ownership, right? And then it has this whole entire tokenomics and it's like really in-depth and sophisticated with this whole Axie economy, right? And then you also have sometimes you'll have people talking about games and they love gaming, but they don't really get crypto or NFTs. So you get to like bring them over to that side of it. So yeah, anyway, I think it depends on your audience who you're talking to. And I think for the most part, I find myself talking to people who don't really get the crypto NFT space overall. And I just think Axie is the perfect way to kind of segue into that category and really make it make sense. It's like some people are like, whoa, 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 stop there. Like, what are you talking about? Blockchain? My mind is turning off. No thanks, whatever. So anyway, it's kind of just like a fun way to segue into that. But also, Jiho, thanks so much for what you were just talking about. I think that we definitely not need more, but could use more niche communities. And yeah, so I've been working with Big Yak Axie Club, shout out to BYSC, doing some great things. And I think we really have an awesome opportunity there where we are almost bringing back to life what really sparked interest originally with Axie. And it's this care and this love and the emotional investment in this game and the collectibles out of it as well. So, yeah, I just really love the opportunity that we have there with that. And we also have some really, really, really exciting things with Big Yaks coming up that we've been working on. I know that we're making a lot of progress, but anyway, I don't want to like shill too much there. But overall, I mean, I think we could use more communities like this. I know that we brought in the millions with a really successful economy and earnings through the game. But I think it's very important that we have these niche communities that are appreciating more than just like the tokenomics behind it. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And I really do think it's cool to see these kind of niche communities and social clubs pop up. I mean, honestly, even just seeing that little like banner around your portrait, to signify the Big Yak pride. I love it. It makes me want to see somebody make the equivalent for Frosties or for Japanese Axies or even for Origin Axies, right? Like as Axie continues to progress, both not jokingly as, we get closer to governance and there's more political stuff, but, sort of half jokingly, like I love the idea of these little factions, these Axie groups that are bonded together by their different collectibles and these different aesthetics. And, we can have some fun with that. I think it's really cool. And that stuff is a real feels good and actually does bring people together. So keep it up. Really a big fan of what the Big Yak group is up to.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Johan. I think it raises an interesting point too, because with Origin being free to play now, niche communities like Big Yak can go out and onboard new new community members into the BYAC essentially before they have to go out and actually buy an Axie in the first place. And these can still be like really hardcore niche community members who are playing and enjoying the game all for free to begin with, and then can make the decision to kind of dive deeper into the blockchain portion of Origin. So I think that's a great point you raise, Johan.
Don't you worry, we are working on it. You just wait. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll jump off. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Johan. Cool. Do we have anybody else? It looks like we have Two Bag up here. Welcome, Two Bag. I've read some of your stuff. Who are you gonna introduce Origin to?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for having me up. So I've been involved in gaming communities for about 15, coming on 20 years now. I'm getting a little bit old, as you can possibly tell. But my origin is FPS games, Counter-Strike, and I used to run a few game server hosting companies, and I ran a few Counter-Strike leagues. And along the way, I've met lots of FPS friends, but we also used to spend a lot of our time kind of relaxing in mobile games like Clash of Clans. And I see a lot of similarities with Land and Clash of Clans, where it's just a nice place to relax and socialize. We used to sit on Xbox Live and chat with each other whilst we were playing. So I'm really excited to introduce Axie Infinity to my Clash of Clans friends. But another thing that this makes me think heavily about was I had some friends that played Fortnite, but not the PvP game. They used to actually play the PvE game, where they'd run around fighting weird creatures, and they'd collect different weapons and parts that they could use to upgrade themselves. And I actually had one friend who started making a part-time job out of playing Fortnite, because he'd run around and he'd collect various weapons and stuff, and then he'd go to a website where he'd list these up for sale. And the not so great side of this is that people would meet inside Fortnite and they would build, you know how you build in Fortnite, they build like a little box that they could both stand in with like a window, and it would be set up in such a way that it would make it very difficult to scam each other, because you both throw your parts and your exchange through the window at the same time. But occasionally people would get scammed, and there was no kind of inbuilt method for people to trade person to person. But I could see that there was a hunger for, somebody wants to grind the game many hours a day and they want to receive something for it and sell their parts to other people. And I see Axie Infinity as a safe way that people can do this, where it's encouraged and it's supported by the developers. And of course, you have the blockchain and its security to help transact these kind of things. So I'm really looking forward to introducing Origin to my Clash of Clans friends and my Fortnite friends who used to do all this kind of crazy trading stuff, and say, it's all the same stuff, except it's not kind of black market. You can't do this. It's against terms of service. You have to build funny forts to protect yourself from scams. It's all built in. It's all safe. So that's one of the things I'm really excited to share the game about.
That's a really, really awesome story, Two Bags. It also resonates with me. I'm someone who grew up, right, playing Diablo. So there was D2JSP. My World of Warcraft guild used to actually make money gearing up through raids, Chinese gold farming operations, right? We know about EVE Online, which has had a player-driven economy for 18 years. So this is actually not something that needs to be proven. I think the thing that needs to be proven is that by embracing the secondary market, by making it much easier for people to transact, that this actually enables a paradigm shift and will create an entirely new genre of games, right? So where the people participating in these black and gray markets have always been a relatively small percentage of the player base. And I think that's also because, right, as you mentioned, there's just so much friction around doing it in a trustless and smooth manner that when we actually embrace it and enforce it through smart contracts, I think that just allows for the entire thing to scale and for these digital economies to be much larger rather than just a very, very small niche within games or niche within games. So, yeah, I think I really liked how you mentioned your past trying to transact within these game economies.
Awesome. Well, we had EduMock up here, but it looks like his app might have crashed or he might have gotten disconnected. If he's still in here, feel free to re-request, buddy, and we'll bring you up. But I see Lover is there, patiently puts up his hand. Axie Lover F22, how are you, my friend? Great to see you.
Good to see you too, buddy. Hi, Jihoz, Quinn, Spike. Hi, everybody. I always want to say like a GM because it's always early to play Origin. So in my case, I think Sky Mavis, they're trying or they're making a good choice to bring that option to play Origins in free to play because that's going to be easier to us to show the game to every single gamer of the world, around the world. In my case, I have a lot of friends that they are gaming. Of course, I'm a gamer too, and they play a lot of game on mobile. So technically, that made my job easier if I want to show Origin to them because they can find the game into the App Store or Google Store, Play Store, whatever is the name. And I can teach them to see the beautiful game that we are already making and that we are creating together. So my point is like, thank you. I just want to say thank you for everything and for give us the chance to create our beautiful ecosystem into the Web3. So I don't want to stand, but I think the free-to-play game going to be easy for us to introduce new gamers into the ecosystem. Then we can teach them how to play into the Web3. Sorry, my Spanglish. With the opportunity to introduce them into the Web3 and the lovely game and la blockchain. Thank you for the chance.
Demo Lover. To add on that, one thing that I thought was really cool is like back in the day, I remember playing Pokemon, and that was one of the reasons why I got into Axie. But just being able to have the opportunity to just play with other people, that was quite honestly just like that was an opportunity for a lot of our player base. We might want to play our favorite game with our siblings or our friends from school, and we couldn't do that. Whereas now you can do that, and even if you just have Bubba or Oleg, Puffy, all the other ones, you can try out different combinations with those, and just maybe you save up to buy one Axie. It doesn't matter what it is, but you can slowly progress and build a team that you're proud of and just have this like ongoing battle. So like for me, I'm most excited because it introduces a lot of new combinations, and for me also like having this amazing collector community as well. Like I don't know if many people knew this. I've always run a side business to kind of motivate me. Like when I was in business school, I was selling like collector's items, and then even during quarantine hit, like I actually started distributors list, and I was selling Pokemon cards, Magic cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So it's for people when they have these collectibles, it's not just owning them; it's the experiences and sharing them with others. I can see someone on their phone, showing off Origin, their beautiful like big yaks, like, oh, dude, check out this one I bought. It's not always necessarily about the game, but just kind of sharing how it makes you feel and kind of having these experiences with others. So I'm very bullish on that.
Spike, I love what you just said about being able to play this with others, right? I learned to read with Pokemon Red on Game Boy Color, and all I wanted to do was play against my cousins in California. I was on the East Coast, and it just wasn't doable, right? And so we have really, really enabled that, and I think we should all file that away. This ability to play, it makes so much sense, but you can play this game that we all know and love against anybody you want. That's a huge selling point right here when it comes to who are we going to show Origin to.
I think like one of the amazing things, right, has always been, right, like if you want something, then you can get your friends to play, and if they find things that you want and you find things that they want, then you can trade, right? Like, so my entire school started playing Pokemon when I started playing Pokemon. Why? Because I was playing blue, and my mom wouldn't let me get a second Game Boy to trade with myself. So then I was like, okay, like what do I do? So I encouraged my friends all to get Pokemon Red. So I was the only person in my school with blue, and everyone else had red. And then so I was like the source for all the blue, and everyone else had like a huge supply of Pokemon from the red version. So yeah, like will also say, right, that trading element, it's inherently social because you need other actors in the ecosystem to create that market for you. So I do think that these games that rely on trading have this inherent virality to them, and Origin is so, right, like with regards to Origin, right, if you with the rune system, right, like you might get hit a mystic aquatic rune, but you're not using aquatics, right, then but your friend might have a mystic of a rune that you need, right, and then you can actually trade or swap with them. I think that's going to be really important. Obviously, also, like, right, the marketplace, runes and charms will be tradable on the marketplace, so you could just pretty easily sell that rune that you don't want, get some currency, and then swap that for the rune that you actually want. So I think that's going to be super, super important.
Absolutely. I see we pulled Tendo up here, a man that I've met at multiple Axie meetups now, been around the community for a while. Tendo, I'd love to hear from you, buddy, and hear who you will show Origin to.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me up here. Hello, everyone. Oh, can you hear me?
Loud and clear,
Yeah, you
man.
sound great.
Okay, cool. So first and foremost, thank you guys for having me up here. And honestly, I'm onboarding my family and friends, but as the game launches on mobile, like mobile gaming is going to be the wave. And I just kind of wanted to touch on some things that you guys were talking about earlier, like Jihoz referenced the Big Yak Society and how more sub communities will begin to form over time. Like stories will begin to be told, right? We'll start to see the rise of the Beast Nation or like Bird Patrol or whatever people sort of start to latch onto. And then over time, as all of you guys are kind of collecting on, people will begin to trade and collect these experiences. But Origin makes that experience so much easier. I mean, you sign up, boom, you have a tutorial, you have your first 3 Axies, and you get to unlock more as you start to start your journey through the story mode, through adventures. You start to kind of expand into the lore. So you fall in love with the art, you fall in love with the gameplay, you get deeper into the game. And right now we really don't have like merch, right? We don't have anything that like physically people can also latch onto. Like imagine toys and plushies of your favorite Axies, like building on top of that cuteness. So now you're enjoying the gameplay, you're getting deeper into the game, and then boom, you realize like, hey, this is an NFT game. So now your first purchase truly means something when you actually go out there and buy your first Axie. Like you're buying this Axie that's going to follow you in this infinite like experience, right? All over the Axie universe, where you're not only using it in this battler, now you're able to, transverse land or whatever through the amazing builder, program is unlocked for you to truly have ownership on. Like imagine if you're able to take your first Pikachu or your first Charmander from your first Pokemon game or your first Digimon card or whatever the case may be and use it in these different experiences. I mean, we look at games like Roblox, right? You have your avatar that you can transverse these multiple different games with. And I think that we, like being in Axie, like we're literally at like the start. Like a lot of us, I don't think we really truly understand the power and impact that these cute little adorable creatures that we've came to love and fall in love with, it's like this infinite gateway into these different experiences. And all of us together we get to kind of cultivate this through content and community building, and we're going to see so much so much come out of it. So I'm extremely excited. So I would say I will onboard my friends and family first, especially for mobile, because a lot of people, mobile is more accessible, easier to kind of play on the go. You can play Axie on the go. So like once that is out, it's it's to the moon. It's the whole world. So
yeah, absolutely. Mobile is going to be huge, and we're really excited to be able to push that out. I still think it was great to be able to break mobile and desktop apart because it's allowed us to really focus in on getting desktop polished, making sure the game balance is getting the attention and love it deserves, and then that'll give us a lot more bandwidth to tackle mobile as soon as it comes out. Any issues or reports that arise, we'll be right there to be all hands on deck for mobile. So very excited about our approach and super stoked to see the numbers once we get Origin on mobile and see how many millions of players want to test this thing out. All right. Well, we've got less than 15 minutes left in this space. Still room for anyone else to hop up and join us. Feel free to request, and we'll sort through those and try to get you up here. But so far, this has been pretty incredible, Quinn. I'm getting excited about Origin. Just, like, this makes me want to play. Just listening to everybody talk about it and sharing it with their friends.
Yeah, it's hard not to be, for sure. And I think Tendo brings up an interesting point too. Once we have mobile builds live, then it gets even faster at that point. Because when I think about, my mom games, right? She wouldn't call herself a gamer, but she plays Match 3. She plays Candy Crush. And right. So technically, just like how she is a TV watcher, she is also a gamer. And that's why this population of gamers is actually pretty massive. And so when I think about gaming from her perspective and making that experience of downloading a game and onboarding and starting to play as frictionless as possible, that's the ultimate goal that we're going for with Origin here. And once we have our mobile builds out and ready, and once we're able to get live in app stores, I think that's exactly what the experience will be. So that's definitely something that I'm really excited about as well. And Tendo, I think it's cool that you brought that up too.
Yeah, it is pretty wild to think about, how at Christmas time, potentially, I could just go back and be like, hey, fam, just open up your phone, go on the App Store. Here you go. This is Axie Infinity. We're all going to try together. Let's get going with our starter Axies. Like, that's a flow that even my parents can get behind. That's actually really exciting.
I've had so many experiences where I try, people would get so excited talking about Axie with me. Like, we're basically random people, right? Uber drivers, people that I interact with outside in various different ways, right? Like, I don't know, people at restaurants when I'm waiting online, and people get super excited, right? If I'm wearing an Axie shirt, I can use that to say, hey, like, this is what they look like. We'll, pull up the Twitter and show some gameplay footage and stuff like that, and talk about the idea of a player-owned economy and true ownership, being able to do whatever you want with your own game assets, right? That all makes sense to people. The thing that didn't make sense is, wait, like, so, and then they would want to play, and then they wouldn't understand, like, why they couldn't just download it really seamlessly, right? So, or why they couldn't have it on their phone. So I think it's going to be a watershed moment, and yeah, like, basically, like, yeah, it creates so much friction. So, we've always been building towards that moment. Like, I remember in 2019, we went through an accelerator program specifically related to growth, and it was like, what is our growth North Star? And I remember that what we came up with is, like, we're building a product that anyone can introduce their friends and families to very seamlessly, and we're getting each day we're getting one step closer to that.
Well said. All right, we've got Ed Umak back with us. Welcome back, friend. Hopefully you can hear us. Hello, check 1 2. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great, buddy. Welcome back.
Yeah, sorry, I was driving, and yeah, signal wasn't the best, but now I'm good. I'm okay. So yeah, it's nice to be here. Thank you all for having me up here. And yeah, this whole topic of Origin it's from the get-go, it's been so exciting seeing it like start off as an idea of how, just seeing like the art of it, I think it made everyone go crazy about what it could become. And I think that's one of the key aspects of onboarding new people. You like show them a picture. You're like, look, this is a new game I'm playing. This is something I don't know, because people they're very visual. So when they see something new, they see something that they're attracted to, like a different game that has cool art and some interesting play style, they'll immediately be on board. And that's where like, who would I show Origin to? We all have our targets. We all have our communities, and I think that's insanely great for Axie Infinity in itself, because we can all target different parts of the community, different parts of new people that can come over. Like, for example, I know a lot of hardcore gamers that they always want to compete. They want to go for I don't know, tournaments. They always want to be the best. League of Legends. They've played Clash of Clans as well, Clash Royale, all those kind of games. And yeah, I could start off saying something like, okay, have you seen this though? and I can kind of show them that. Obviously, the OGs, card player games, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, all those. Obviously, Pokemon as well. That's the main game I use to like describe the sort of the battle aspect. I tell them like, imagine every single ability of your quote unquote Pokemon was a different card, and that you can boost their damage or abilities and somehow using charms and runes. And they immediately go like, okay, I'm interested. What is this? So I think that's something that could be really good, getting those communities in. And that's something I could do on my side. Everyone has different communities they can target. And I think like that's really great. It'll be a huge wave of everyone combining efforts to just bring in new people. Not just because like, okay, yeah, I want Origin to great, but I want people to have fun playing it. So I would obviously show them the gameplay, teach them how to play, and then at the end just kind of like throw the bomb and say something like, and you know what? You can actually earn using it like playing this game. So obviously people already like the game and they'll go like, okay, oh, I'm on board now. I think that's going to be really, really great. I see a huge future ahead, not only for Origin itself, but for like for the player base, but for competitive side on esports. I see there's so much more that can come and so much more that will come, and I'm just like so excited for it. I really am.
Man, if I can, I'd like to follow up. I got some really cool insights from both Denmark and Nintendo. So what's really cool is that, Axie first and foremost is a card game, but land is being developed, and also we have through the Builders Program a few products. I don't know all of them, but we've seen Axie War Cart across Demacia with Arctic and his team, more of like a pixel adventure game, and Ogami Conquest, which is like a mobile style game. So like Axie card game might not be your drift, but like you might gift an Axie to one of your friends, and they're all about MOBAs. And it's gonna be cool and exciting to see like how they look in these games, how they interact, and just like have this diverse community of just Axie, fanatics. We see that with Pokemon. You have a MOBA, you have RPG, you got a card game. So I think that's gonna really compound on top of that. And what's beautiful about this community is like each and every person that comes to build brings in a new, unique, vibrant, player base. So, I can see how people can gather around different, subsects and continue to grow. So I'm very bullish as, the final amount of friction comes down to just a mobile launch. I think it's gonna be great.
All right. Well, we got a couple hands up here. Lover, would love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. I want to say thank you, Edu, as well, because he gave us the clue. Axie Origin gonna be the key for bring a lot of new gamers, and probably they're gonna be the first game that they're going to play into the Web3. But that's gonna be just the start, the beginning, because with the running network we have a lot. We have infinity combination of game that we're gonna have into the ecosystem of running. So I'm really excited about it, and I want to say thank you to Edu, because I didn't get it at the beginning, and that's the truth. That's the key for the beginning to bring a lot of new gamers. Thank you.
Awesome. We're excited as well. We got about 5 minutes left. Two bags. What's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to hook on back of one of Andrew's comments about Christmas and seeing the family. My mum's actually a very avid Klondike player. Every time I go to my mum's house, she's walking around the house with this iPhone in her hands. And when I saw the 3D version of Axie gameplay, I thought, oh my God, my mum's going to love this. I can just picture, her walking around the house. As soon as we go mobile, I can say to her, you love Klondike, check out Axie Infinity. And it makes me think also about Jiho's comment about fun being subjective, because one of the mantras that I keep repeating is that the game must be fun. And I feel like it's very interesting what he said about it being subjective, because not necessarily, for my mum, it might be that she likes to be top of the farming leaderboard on Klondike, and she feels like she's doing something good there, or she's achieved something. Maybe it's she's playing all the time. And for others, maybe it's the social aspect. And I think what's really cool about Axie Infinity is it opens up to such a wide audience. You've got competitive gameplay in arena. You've got chill and relax, making, gathering food and farming. And there's just so many different options for so many audiences that I think the real answer to who will you show Origin to should just be everybody. There's something here for everybody. And I just can't wait until we release to all the different platforms and have all the different types of gameplay, so that the answer to the question literally is everybody.
Awesome. I think that's an amazing sentiment, and yeah, I'm glad that you got something out of that idea of subjective fun. I was reading some books on game design, and I basically tried to break it down. I think it's called Fundamentals of Fun. I highly suggest you guys check that out. So yeah, one thing that I also want to say, right, is like, so when I was in a fraternity in college, and I was actually the recruitment chair. I actually also was a recruiter in a former life. Some of you guys might know about that. And so one thing that I'll say, so what we've seen from the space is, right, obviously Origin is in a really early state right now. I think the initial early access launch, it's really early access for our true supporters and believers. And right now we're in a state where we're actively getting feedback, testing the game, trying to get it as smooth and as balanced as possible before we, turn on the mobile and turn on the token economy. So I think a lot of you guys are actually saving your ammunition, which is smart for, when people can actually play on their phones. So I think one exercise that we might be able to take out of this is, right, like, before you actually start sharing, and before we get to that moment, I would actually just start making a list, maybe like a Word document or an Apple Notes pad, right? Start actually putting to paper the people in your lives that you think would be a great fit for our community. Because, right, like, yes, we can go out there and acquire traditional gamers, but I think, like, in the early stages, in the early days, the people that are the best fit for this community, which has limited, right, being part of this movement is, in my opinion, it should be seen as a privilege. It should be seen as an honor. And the people that are going to be the best fits for being part of this movement, they're going to be the friends and family of the people who are already in the movement, right? There's going to be some alignment of values, and they're going to have this support system and support network. So that's what I'll say is, like, go out, make a list of 10, 20, 30, whatever people that you're super excited to show Origin to. And yeah, I'll end with that.
Fantastic. Well, what a great sentiment to end on, and another fantastic Twitter space. Quinn, thanks for helping put this together. I don't know if there's any other parting thoughts you want to leave us with.
This was great. Jiho and Zyori, thank you so much for co-hosting this, and just a big thank you to all of our speakers who came up as well. I think there were so many great points shared, and a lot of cool things we can run with, and even some cool things for us as the core team to run with as well. So really great experience.
And Spike, of course, thanks Spike for coming on, and you've been a light of positivity in the community recently. So I want to give you your own special shout out. Much love.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate the privilege. And thank you for all the ammunition, guys, with, the listeners, the speakers. I didn't kind of think of, like, the limitation. I guess I had a limited scope on, what you can do in Axie, because I'm kind of more focused on the community side. You have people that are also collectors. You have people that are esports. So I think, we all came up with some good ideas to help, onboard, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, million players, which I'm excited about.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Spike. Really appreciate it. On that note, we'll leave you all adieu. Happy Easter, everyone. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are in the world. Hope you have a safe weekend, and give your loved ones an extra hug tonight before bed. We'll leave you on that note, and we'll see you next time on a future Axie Twitter Space.